Dave Smith Unleashed, brought to you by MTS Transportations at 800-640-6873 for reliable on-time delivery, compliance you can count on, round-the-clock support, superior communication, experienced logistics partners, and mention the Dave Smith Unleashed podcast and get 20% off on your next shipment for all your shipping, trucking, and freight needs. There's only one business to call, and that's MTS Transportations at 800-640-6873. MTS Transportations, 800-640-6873. Dave Smith back with you here on Dave Smith Unleashed, and boy, what a pleasure here. You know, going back to the old days, I had Doug Krikorian on and Jim Lampley on and all Steve Hartman and all the people I used to work with back in the day. But how about this for a great guest? Somebody who has rocketed past me with fame and fortune in the business. I remember him when we called him the youngster, a young intern. I believe he started with the great Big Joe McDonald and went on to be my producer with Ben and Dave and other shows as well. And now look at him hosting Dodgers postgame on the field with Dodgers Talk. The Dodgers reporter traveling with the team. Great stuff here, and a pleasure to join us on the road here, the great David Vassegh. What's up, youngster? Good to talk to you again.
Oh, great to be on with you, Dave. What a surprise to get a call from you. You haven't called me in 20 years, so I mean, when you called, I had to answer.
I was so heartbroken when you got married. I was heartbroken. I couldn't talk to you again. Well, and
do you still carry around a clipboard everywhere you go?
I do, yes, and wear the same jeans every day, and the old dad jeans. Nothing's changed with me.
I remember when you called, that's my image of you. A black extra medium T-shirt so you could show off the gun.
That's right.
Whitewashed jeans.
That's right.
A black belt. And one of those old school teacher clipboards, like a old school 80s coach clipboard.
And haven't changed the hairstyle in 30 years either. Nothing's changed, youngster.
Hey, that's good. You were the best conditioned sports talk radio host in Los Angeles.
Well, by the way, congratulations, 14th wedding anniversary.
Yeah, I'm celebrating it in Cincinnati with the Dodgers while my wife is with the kids back home. So that's the life of, that's the glamorous life, Dave Smith, that you discovered.
Well, is she insane? She stayed with you for 14 years. What kind of power drugs are you giving her, youngster?
I'll tell you a funny story. Charlie Manuel, the old Phillies manager, I asked him, hey, I'm married with kids. Do you think I should keep traveling with the team? Do you think I should still do this? And he told me the secret to his marriage lasting as long as it did was that he did baseball. And he left for 2 weeks, and then he would come home for 2 weeks. He said, if I was home every day, I would have been divorced. So I think that's the reason why it's lasted 14 years. I'm not around 24/7.
That sounds like my father. The best piece of advice he ever gave me, youngster, was the secret to a happy marriage is never seeing each other. That's always be distant, never be around.
Yeah, that's me. I think that's why it's worked. So thank you, Charlie Manuel.
Yeah, we're men. Who wants to be around us 24/7, right? Especially women. Because women are superior to us intellectually and logically. And why would they want to be around a man 24/7? That makes a lot of sense.
Especially me, I'm way below par on all those categories.
Well, let's talk about the old days here first before we get to your great job at the Dodgers here, how you got started. I remember the youngster, didn't you just walk into the building where Big Joe McDonald worked one day and talk yourself into an intern position before you started working with me and became my producer?
Yeah, you were actually doing a show with Joey Heim, right?
The Sports Gods, yes.
Yeah, the Sports Gods. Remember, it was in the Fallbrook Mall in West Hills.
That's right.
And I knocked on the door, and Steve, you remember Steve was running the station there. Steve Paylett, I think was his name.
That's right.
He opened the door, and I just said, hey, I'd like to intern for Joe McDonald. I listened to his show. I love his show. And he said, yeah, come on in. And it started as a 2-day-a-week thing, screening his phone calls, doing all the grunt work for Big Joe. And then when he went to AM 1150, he brought me over there with him, and that's where you came as well. So that's how it all started. And I was pulling shopping carts at Costco, going to Moore Park JC, then Cal State Northridge, and then coming in and interning for Joe, and then eventually getting a paid job as an assistant producer.
And that's where the nightmare began. They offered you a producer's job and said, you're going to produce, I think it was the Ben and Dave show, wasn't it? They said, this is going to be with Ben Maller. This is going to be your job producing that show. And that's where the nightmare of her career began, right there, switching over with me.
Well, that's after they fired Joe McDonald at a sandwich shop in Westwood. And then I stayed. Yeah, Blimpies. And I would say that's one of my favorite shows that I worked on was you and Ben. You guys had a great style, and it was enjoyable to work on that show, even though, at that time, Ben would be very moody, but you were always Mr. Positive.
He's still doing overnights at Fox Radio. I tuned in the other night listening to him, and it was like 20 minutes of saying, why did I choose radio? My brother was a lawyer now. My mother told me, don't get into this. Now I'm stuck like 1 to 5 a.m., the worst slot in radio. What have I done with my life? I was dying laughing listening to that.
I love talking trash with Ben because Dodger Talk usually leads into a syndicated show.
That's right.
And once in a while, he'll see the sunlight and fill in locally on AM 570. And I like to take shots at his callers because they're not, how can I put this, Dave? They're not really Phi Beta Kappa overnight.
He told me they're all a bunch of drunks one time. Well, who else is going to call on the overnight show, right, youngster? Who else is up at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Hey, Ben is the king of Green Bay and Arkansas.
Oh, the youngster, the great David Vassegh. You hear him on Dodger Talk and doing the Dodger pregame and traveling with the team and made such a success out of himself since he started as an intern back in the day and was my producer back when I was first getting started in radio here on Dave Smith Unleashed. And you brought up Big Joe McDonald, and I spoke about him when I had Doug Krikorian on and some other people. Boy, he could be difficult, as you know, David. I never knew what I would do to tick this guy out. We'd be great friends. I'd go to his house for dinner. We'd go to field trainings. We'd hang out. We'd hang out after the show. Everything was great. And then I'd come in and he'd walk right past me in the hall and curse me and wouldn't speak to me for 3 months. Then we were friends again. Then he'd be mad. And I never knew what I'd done, youngster. He could be difficult.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you said something, Dave.
Yes.
You were the epitome of, what did I say? I mean, why would he be upset because I said that? But you knew how to stir it up. And that's, Joe was the guy that was going to hold his ground. And, I think that's what made him as great as he was he wasn't afraid of confrontation.
Yeah, the late Joe McDonald, unfortunately, and boy, the days of McDonald, Douglas, that was kind of the glory days, I think, of LA Sports Talk Radio, youngster. McDonald, Douglas, and the Sports Gods, and then I was doing solo stuff and the Loose Cannons and all that. I think those were the glory days of LA Sports Talk Radio back then.
It really was. I mean, that's what, when I was in high school, in the mid-'90s, all my friends would want to listen to rap and R&B and music of all kinds, while I would get in the car and want to listen to sports talk radio on KMPC. I mean, I used to wake up listening to Jim Lampley.
Yeah.
He had a morning show on 710. And then when I get out of school, Joe and Doug would be on the air. And if you remember at that time, Dave, LA sports teams were not doing that great. Magic had retired. The Lakers had guys like Anthony Peeler and Pig Miller. I'll never forget listening to Joe and Doug the day the Dodgers made a trade for Doug Christie and Benoit Benjamin. I mean, that's how tough things were in those days. So they were entertaining in a time in LA sports that aren't as great as they are right now.
You're a great listen to kids everywhere. I was kind of the same way. I didn't study to be a broadcaster or go to broadcast school or anything. I just kind of fell into it because I'd be driving around like you, youngster. I'd be listening to sports talk radio during the day, and I'd say, man, these guys suck. I could be better than these guys right now with no training and get on the air. So I drove around and raised some money. And my first partner in radio, Jim Wakefield, even before Joey, we bought some time and went on KIEV 870 and the rest of it, and went from there. And you just walked in and asked to be an intern. That's I tell kids all that, and whenever I've spoken like to broadcast classes and to universities and things, youngster, I always tell them it's not. You don't have to have a journalism degree. You don't have to go to broadcast school. You just got to have that drive and that desire, and you have to want to do it. Because I don't really know anybody who went to broadcast school who's made it in sports talk radio.
No, usually those are the guys that want to be play-by-play guys,
or engineers.
Those seem to be, yeah, exactly. You have to be well-rounded. You got to be able to be entertaining and informative at the same time. I think that's what I've learned. You know who I learned that from a lot was Joe and Doug, obviously. And Petros Papadakis taught me how you have to be entertaining and engaging and be more than just nuts and bolts.
Not Dave Smith? You're not including me on that list?
Oh, yeah. Dave, I'm talking about after that. Dave Smith, Ben Maller, you guys were great for that 2-year period.
The youngster David Vassegh going from...
Is this supposed to be me, like just showering you with praise?
Well, that always helps.
Called me?
That always helps, yes.
Hey, let me call this guy. He'll say good things about me.
Well, I didn't know that for sure. This was a real risk. Now, it's funny. I called you this morning to come on the show, and you said, yeah, sir, call me at about 5. We'll do it. Then I called back and got your voicemail, and I said, look at this kid. He's big time. I mean, now that he's with the Dodgers and he's big time, now he's not answering the phone anymore.
Yeah, if a guest wouldn't call in on time, Ben and Dave would panic and start throwing paper clips at me, maybe rocks at me if somebody didn't call in on time.
Oh my goodness! And from that, and then you were an intern with Joe, and then the associate producer with McDonnell Douglas, and then you produced the Ben and Dave show. And from there, what happened after that? After we parted ways, and how did you wind up with the Dodgers doing all this work?
Yeah, so I was already the reporter for AM 570, covering all the teams, Lakers, USC, every sports team in LA. And then once the Dodgers signed on with 570, Don Martin, who was the program director, thought I'd be the right fit to be in this role. And it's something that I really wanted. Petros and Money advocated for me, and I really appreciate that to this day. But that's how it started in 2012. And I'm not even sure when it started, they even imagined how I would turn this into my own type of thing, because there have been other Dodger Talk hosts and traveling reporters that, obviously had other aspirations to be play-by-play guys or something else. And I just was myself and turned it into something that I had a vision for. And that's what it's grown into the last 14 years.
Remember, I used to do your job. I was on the field before the games, doing the pregame Dodger show and doing the postgame and Dodger Talk afterwards. And it went from me. I don't know if it went straight to you, youngster. I remember you were producing for me back then, but you're doing the job I used to do for the Dodgers.
Oh, did you travel with the team, Dave?
Once or twice I did, but I mainly did the home games.
Yeah, it feels like Abe Martinez was doing it the way I was doing it currently. And I remember that Motley Crue experiment of a pregame show with you and Vic the Brick Jacobs and Vic the Brick going after John Rocker. It went from that to A. Martinez and guys like Josh Sushan and Joe Block and those type of guys.
Oh, Vic the Brick. I was standing right next to him when he had that blow up with John Rocker, and he was claiming that Rocker promised an interview with him. So he walks right up to the dugout, says, John Rocker, you promised Rocker? Why aren't you interviewing with me? And then they called security on him and threw him the hell out, Vic the Brick. I was standing right next to him.
It's not the first time, and it wasn't the last time that happened.
What a great, Petros is a great guy too. I always liked him. Vic is salt of the earth. Who doesn't love Vic the Brick Jacobs?
No, everybody loves Vic. Vic is one of the special people out there, and he always brought a different type of energy to any show that he was part of.
The youngster, David Vassegh, special guest here on Dave Smith Unleashed, wanted me to talk about the old times and talk about Dodger baseball as well. And, you're on a road trip with the Dodgers right now. Shohei Ohtani last year, the first player ever in the 50-50 club, 50 home runs and 50 steals. And now he's pitching again and doing well, has an ERA under 2. And I don't know, is it too early to start talking about Shohei being the greatest player in the history of baseball? Because even Babe Ruth, when he was pitching, wasn't doing what he is doing. And I looked up his numbers today. Babe Ruth only was full-time 1 year as a pitcher and a hitter. He hit 29 home runs. He drove in over 100. I think he won 14 games and had an ERA of around 3. Even Babe Ruth hasn't done what Shohei has done being a two-way player. It's just remarkable.
It really is. And as I'm sitting here in Cincinnati in the final day of the series, Ohtani is going to pitch. He's expected to throw 4 innings today in his most extended start of the season so far. But it's something that we shouldn't fail to appreciate while it's happening. A lot of times you appreciate this kind of stuff and these kind of players after they're long gone. But hopefully right now, everybody's appreciating the fact that this is a once in a lifetime type of player doing once in a lifetime things. So every time that he's pitching, every time he's hitting, I try to take it in as much as I can. Being around him is going to be certainly a career highlight as he is doing things with the Dodgers, Dave, that he did with the Angels. But it seems like nobody even remembers anything he did with the Angels. It feels like even though he's pitching and hitting and doing all these same things, people act like it's the first time it's ever happened, and everything he did with the Angels just never happened.
Well, the Angels are such a mess of an organization. That was the smartest thing he ever did, going across town. And, one of the premier, one of the top flight franchises in baseball, and the Dodgers, and he wins a World Series in his first year. And, I said this about Mike Trout. When he signed that 13-year contract with the Angels, I said, hey, you know what? Nobody's offering me $400 million, and I don't have a mansion in Newport Beach. Far be it from me to tell you what to do. But that was a big mistake. Just play out your contract. You could probably get more than that $400 million. This was 2 or 3 years ago, youngster. You can go home with your hometown Philadelphia Phillies, Yankees, Red Sox, and you can finally play in the postseason. I thought it was a mistake for him to sign that long-term deal, even though it was for a lot of money.
I think it was a great career move for him. I know that he took it back to the Angels, and the Angels balked at it. And the Dodgers obviously have the resources to maximize Ohtani's true value. Yep. You've seen that in the stadium. You've seen what they've been able to do as far as sponsorship goes. And Ohtani is a marketing machine. He understands that side of the business, and it's elevated his as hard as it is to say this, it's elevated his entire brand.
And Ohtani, being a power hitter, he's going to strike out more than the average hitter. But, youngster, when he makes contact, he hits the ball consistently harder than anybody in Major League Baseball, even his outs. I mean, he hits it right on the screws, or he usually hits it right at somebody. He's on it, and his timing is great. He hits the ball hard consistently more than anybody in the game.
Yeah, he's never getting shortchanged, that's for sure. Even on the swings and misses, it's like, how does his back hold up with these violent swings? It's incredible how hard he swings and how his body is able to support all that. It's really incredible. And, tonight, it's a great pitcher's, it's a great ballpark for a hitter to hit in. He hasn't hit a home run yet, but it's going to be great to see him pitch again tonight and actually start to come out of that 2 or 3 inning part of his rehab.
With all the trouble in Cincinnati where you are now, youngster, have you been attacked and beaten yet since you've been there? I keep waiting to watch the news.
No, that hasn't happened. But certainly, I'll say this, a lot of these cities here in the NL Central, their downtowns were starting to come alive. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, it set it back. And I think that's where people that don't get to see different parts of the country fail to realize just the impact of the pandemic and the businesses that were shut down and people's lives that were so greatly affected. And honestly, Dave, if it wasn't for doing this job, I never would see cities like Pittsburgh or Cincinnati or St. Louis. And it just really does give you greater perspective in living in a city like Los Angeles and seeing how people in Chicago, New York, LA live compared to middle America.
And youngster, and you can vouch for this, downtown LA, just from 10 or 15 years ago, was completely different. It was a ghost town back when there was nothing happening. It rolled up and it was dark around 10, 11 o'clock at night. But when Staples Center came in and then LA Live across the street and the radio station and all the restaurants and bars there, it's completely been revitalized, that downtown area. And in large part because of, Staples being built and the city making a commitment to the downtown area. But it's so much better now than it used to be.
Yeah, you never would think like a really nice Newport Beach restaurant like Javier's would open up in downtown. You never would think there would be a Mastro's in downtown LA, but there is. And a lot of that has to do, Dave, with the Olympics coming to Los Angeles. That there's just so much construction of hotels going up to support what is going to occur when the Olympics do arrive in Los Angeles for the first time since 1984.
You know, you talked about the resources and what the Dodgers had to sign Shohei Ohtani and other players as well. And it angers me and it makes me laugh when I hear people saying all the time, well, you know, the Dodgers and teams like the Yankees, they have an unfair advantage and they can outspend everybody and it's not good for baseball and they get all the players. And they're not supposed to try and win with ownership, but they're doing what it takes to win. They should be praised for that. And youngster, you know this. Every owner in baseball is a billionaire, whether it's a corporation or an individual guy. They can all afford to do the same thing. It's just some owners want to collect their TV money and don't want to win, and some want to win. That's the difference. They're all billionaires. Come on.
Right. And the Yankees and Dodgers, when it was put into place, this revenue sharing, when you go over the tax and you have these big contracts and you have the national deals, there's a whole pot of revenue sharing.
Yes.
Why aren't some of these teams like the Reds and the Pirates putting that back into not only their infrastructure, but also their major league payroll? That was supposed to be the spirit that Bud Selig told everybody in 1994, that teams like the Pirates or the Twins would start putting money back into their teams. And the Twins actually have done that. Their payroll is over $100 million. But for these other teams to really not sign any free agents or a minimal contract, it's not the spirit of what revenue sharing was supposed to be about. And
you mentioned Pittsburgh. You mentioned the Pirates here. They have Paul Skeens is awesome. When I watch him pitch, youngster, about 6'6" or 6'7", the movement on his fastball is kind of like a flutter, like a wiffle ball, but he's throwing it 100 miles an hour. He throws in the slider and the changeup. He's almost unhittable with that ERA under 2. Such a tremendous young prospect. But are they going to have to trade him? Because if they don't want to pay him, they might have to deal him at the All-Star break this year. They're going to have to get something for him.
They're not trading him right now. He's under team control for 5 more years, cost-effective team control for 5 more years. If you trade Paul Skeens, Dave, you might as well just contract the Pirates, because what's the point of having that franchise? The Pirates cannot change Paul Skeens.
Maybe they can throw in Livy Dunn and they get a boatload in return, right, youngster?
Even so, the Pirates shouldn't exist if they were to trade Paul Skeens right now.
Oh, I got a lot more to talk to you about, youngster. I put together a list, by the way, of the 10 greatest LA Dodger players of all time and the 10 most important LA/Brooklyn Dodgers of all time. Do you want to talk about that, youngster?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, good. Well, we'll hit on that one in part 2, but that's it for part 1 of the interview with the youngster, David Vassegh, here on Dave Smith Unleashed. And don't forget, we're giving away 4 tickets to the Rams-Cowboys game on August 9th, courtesy of our great sponsor, MTS Transportations, right above the tunnel where the Rams come out. And if you want to know where you can hear the Dave Smith podcast, Dave Smith Unleashed, go to my ex-Twitter account, @DaveSportsGod, @DaveSportsGod. I'm always providing updates, so we'll talk to you on the next show right here with Dave Smith Unleashed.